Threats of criminal contempt, claims of inaccurate accusations. Recent public court filings reveal really a combative relationship between Minnesota's U.S. attorney and district court judges, unlike anything legal experts have ever seen. They say the word unprecedented in this is no exaggeration. And for more, here's Lou Raguse.
An email from U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen to Chief District Judge Patrick Schiltz touched a nerve, to say the least. Regarding a well-publicized order Schiltz handed down accusing ICE of violating nearly 100 orders in a month, Rosen wrote in part, "The information compiled by others for your order was far beyond the pale of accuracy." In response, Schiltz re-verified his January 28th count, finding one additional violation, then added the violations by ICE since then, 113 more. Schiltz threatened the use of criminal contempt if the practice continues, writing one way or another, ICE will comply with this court's orders.
Court orders, whether you agree with them or not, require that they be obeyed.
Former U.S. Attorney and retired Minnesota Supreme Court Justice David Lillehaug says what's going on in federal court in Minnesota is unprecedented.
This just doesn't happen. It's never happened in Minnesota where there's been this kind of combat between a United States attorney and multiple federal judges. And I've had a hard time finding anything comparable across the United States in the modern history of the United States. This is a really rare bird.
Is Chief Justice Schiltz a radical activist judge?
This guy is the farthest from a radical activist rogue. He is highly respected.
He is not a man given to exaggerations. He's just not.
Defense attorney A.L. Brown calls Schiltz, appointed by President George W. Bush and a protege of Antonin Scalia, one of the most restrained judges he stood before. Brown says for Schiltz to be taking this public position says something.
It is a wild time to be a lawyer in the Twin Cities.
Now, Rosen isn't speaking publicly on these latest developments. He is being ordered into court on Tuesday, along with an ICE official, by another federal judge to explain why they shouldn't face contempt in a separate immigration case. Jennifer.
Wild time indeed.
Yep.
Rosen not speaking publicly, but he clearly disputes a lot of this. Has he said anything to you about why?
Well, no, actually, in that email to Schiltz, he went a little more in detail. What he said is that he had an attorney look through some of those, supposed orders that were not being followed, and he looked through 12 cases and found some mistakes. And so that's where that came from. However, then Judge Schiltz went back and looked and said that he found an additional one beyond the mistakes or beyond the orders that were not being followed. And then Judge Schiltz went on to say that he's not being unfair to Rosen's attorneys. He said that Rosen is being unfair to them by putting them in that position.
Some of that might sound a little in the weeds for folks, but such an unprecedented story that we're so glad you're following to keep people updated on this.